The soul being a highly mysterious and unconscious part of our consciousness. From the moment we start to say something about the soul, we are at risk to fall into glamorous bullshit or narrow-minded sectarism. If you want to prevent those risks of losing your common sense, you would need a slightly different methodology that if you want to study the mind. In this video, we will explore how a proper exploration of the soul would require a personal practice, support from people who knows about the soul, and a tradition that will offer you a decent mapping. Bear with me. Spiritual literature is repleted by those experiences of people who were normal or sometimes morally very bad and who have been through a spiritual experience and that have changed radically. And this exists, but the very same spiritual experience can announce decompensation into a very concerning mental health problem we call psychosis. So it is very appealing to seek a spiritual experience, but the spiritual discipline is not about getting a peak experience. It's not a spiritual masturbation. It is basically one moment of your day you decide to install, to connect to the soul dimension. And then it finishes and you go back to business as usual, and you try to integrate it in your daily life. And this is the purpose of a spiritual practice. So if you believe that being spiritual is to be dressed in a very unusual manner, to say very unusual thing, and to have very demonstrative practice to let everyone know that you are spiritual, actually you are just inflating your spiritual ego, which has nothing to do with a true spiritual practice. If you practice daily, it may humble you because, well, it's difficult to connect to the soul and then it's difficult to go back to your normal self, but that's exactly what it is meant for. As we told, the soul is a dimension of your being that an external and detached observer won't be able to see in yourself. The problem is that being mostly unconscious, if you start to close your eyes and if you expect to see anything, usually it's your mind that you will perceive and not really your soul. So you cannot have someone observing your soul and you cannot observe yourself. At first glance, it may appear as an unsolvable problem. But actually, if you get the support of a person or a group of persons who already have some connection with their own soul, and if you develop a deep relationship with them, you can create a situation where you will be able to explore your soul, not objectively as a scientist, but subjectively. And for instance, in psychoanalysis, this is called transference. But in many religions, you have spiritual coaching, which is basically about one person that has a better knowledge of his soul, transmitting that power to someone else. So it doesn't sound like an objective transmission of knowledge. It's completely subjective, but it is the way one soul can awaken another soul or a group of souls. Because nowadays spirituality starts to be more and more about group and less about master and disciple. The third thing you would need to, if you want to explore the soul, is a good and solid tradition. And for moderns, it's a bit difficult to swallow because, well, we are very aware that there are a lot of bad things that have been perpetuated for the sake of tradition. But nevertheless, since the world is world, some humans have been so high and so deep within the consciousness that they have gained a superior understanding and knowledge about the soul. And some of them have translated that into a set of teachings that tradition started to perpetuate to help further seeker to achieve the same goal. So I'm not advocating here to adhere 100% to a religion, but religion are also carrying tradition to explore the soul. But at least you would need one mapping of the soul. And you can get it from a tradition which is not yours. You can take the Jewish Kabbalah, the Chinese Tao as a reference. But you would need to be based in a mapping in order to make sense of your experience. Otherwise, you will get only lost. And it doesn't mean that that tradition is the absolute truth, but it is a mapping. And a map is never as the landscape it's supposed to portray, but a good map will allow you to go wherever you want because it's a good enough rendering of your soul. If you are interested in quick results, a spiritual practice, getting a spiritual coaching from someone or from a group, and studying and integrating daily a spiritual tradition sounds like a very annoying practice. Who doesn't want quick result? But if you don't anchor your spirituality in your daily life, you may just lose your mind or lose your time. And in the next video, we will see that amongst the many tradition and the many ways to explore the soul, tarot can be used as a mapping of the soul, as a source of spiritual guidance, and as a daily spiritual practice.